Yeah, boy.
Long time no see. It's been a while. We're going to be writing on this going forward. You're probably thinking, why? Well, I've wanted to cut the video creation process. I didn't want to overcomplicate it, and I just want to speak everything that's on my mind on the get-go. With this board, it can help me do that. I guess this video is going to be quite important. You know, out of all the years I've been trying to make money online, I've spent all my early 20s just trying to find the best way of making money online without any capital or upfront investment. I was after anything that made money without money. And I knew if I was able to do that, I would be able to do anything. And I did find a way. But what was the one thing that really helped me 10x my income and make me free? And really give me freedom. And I'll be honest, the one thing that really gave me everything, sales. Why sales? And I'll explain why. And before we get into why sales, I am an introvert, a full-on introvert. I'm the type of person I can live and last in one room with no communication, nothing. As long as I'm working and doing my thing for 1 year straight, I don't get tired. I'm happy that way. But let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you something. Just because you're an introvert, it doesn't mean you're not good at this. It doesn't mean you need to be an extrovert or you got to have a bright personality or whatever. That is not linked to personality trait. That is linked to skill. This can be mastered through skill. The only difference between introvert and extroverts is the introvert, when he speaks to someone, it drains their energy a bit. I mean, they can still communicate and pretend to be an extrovert. An extrovert gains energy by speaking to people. That's it. I'm a full-on introvert, and that did not affect me with this. So I just want to make that clear. But before we talk about how sales has benefited me today, I want to talk about where I acquired my sales skills from and how I sort of used it to become financially free. Before I finished university, or while I was at university as well, I worked in retail for a number of years, probably around 5-6 years. So at the age of like 17 all the way to like 22, I worked in 2 different stores, so Sports Direct and Asics. Sorry for my bad handwriting. That's a bit higher up, but that's fine. This was probably the foundation of me learning what sales is. Learning how to speak fluently without stuttering to people, that was a key element. I learned how to overcome fear and awkwardness when speaking to random people in the public, because before that didn't exist with me. If someone spoke to me before all this, when I was like a teenager, 15, 16-year-old, I was a quiet kid in classroom who would just run away from someone random spoke to me. I found it so hard to approach or speak to people that I just don't know. That just got that fear out of my system. That is the worst handwriting on earth. I hope you guys can see this, by the way. I hope it's not blurry or anything, but when I'm editing the video, I'll try and make this clearer, or I'll zoom in or something. Anyway, retail made me learn how to overcome fear, awkwardness, and speak fluently with people randomly in the public. I've got no idea who they are, and that was a key skill to have. Yes, I call that a skill. Those gave me the foundation to start persuading people on what they want to buy. Extroverts, they don't probably have this. They don't have fear. They can easily speak fluently. They can talk to random people without an issue. But I remember when I first worked in retail, it was horrible. It was a nightmare. I didn't know how to approach people. I'll try hide in a little corner so no one talks to me. I was that kid. My first couple of months was shite. I was so bad. I didn't sell anything. I wanted my shift to end. That's all I cared about. I remember my manager used to always come up to me. He's like, Kareem, you haven't sold anything and we're just pretty much paying you just so you can stand, which is not good enough here. He's like, you need to start selling stuff. You need to start speaking to people. We've already given you training and it seems like you're not implementing anything. I shat myself. I was like, shit. You know, if I lose my job, I can imagine my parents are going to get really upset and I'm going to get upset and disappointed with myself. So I was like, I need to pick up. And the thing is, I realized whenever I was cornered to do something and I just have to do it, I'm the type of person, I'll just do it. I don't give up. So I just threw myself at just doing the thing that I didn't want to do. I started, shadowing people that were good at sales in Sports Direct and Asics. And the one thing, or the 2 things they did, right, was asking a lot of questions. I didn't understand at first. I'm like, why are we asking so many questions? Just sell the damn trainer. Just talk about how good it is and I'm sure they'll buy it. No, you don't want to do that. And that's something I learned after a year. Before we carry on, I used to work in the footwear department in Sports Direct and Asics. So I used to sell trainers, gym trainers, running trainers, whatever trainers you can think of, tennis trainers, basketball trainers, football trainers as well, soccer for a few in the US. I sold pretty much everything footwear. I saw a lot of people ask a lot of questions. And I'm like, why are they asking questions? And then I understood it's more of a mind game. When you ask questions, you're tapping into the emotion part. And the reason why it taps into emotions, you see, when you ask questions, you're getting desires. That's another one I need to put out there. Emotion triggers desires. I've really made this messy, haven't I? But so in Sports Direct, I've got a customer. Let's say they, for example, they want to buy gym trainers, but they don't know which one's the best. They don't know which one is the best for them. I've got to ask them a lot of questions to trigger an emotion. I had to sell branded Sports Direct or Asics branded trainers, expensive ones as well. I had KPIs to meet, so I had to sell like shoe cleaners, insoles, and all sorts of different stuff as well, along with the trainers. And we always try to have like a minimum spend of £100 per customer. I'll tell you how I was able to meet that. When you ask a lot of questions, all right, it triggers an emotion. That emotion can be linked to their desires as well. And once you link all those things together, that equals a sale. If you can tap into a customer's emotion and desires and you point them the right way, you can sell anything you want to them. So I remember I had one customer, right? And I can tell they were picky. It was a bit weird. They lift really heavy, they use their soles really hard, and they want to run a lot or something, whatever. I just asked them a lot of questions. How do you want to feel when you wear these trainers? Oh, I want to feel like I'm on the cloud. That's what they would say. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So you want something light, durable. What else as well? You're going to be outside a lot? Yeah, I walk home a lot. So it's going to be raining with London weather. So I knew he needs something waterproof as well. And I know we've got waterproof, breathable trainers and so on. So I asked all these questions, right? And we were able to single out 3 different trainers. He straight away picked the cheapest one. And I said, no problem, that's a really good choice. But that cheapest trainer is not waterproof. Instead of telling them how good the trainer was, I was telling them, I was using what they told me. I was hitting their desires. I was like, your desires, you want something waterproof, something light, something this, that, and so on. And I managed to hit these 2 by asking a lot of questions. You see where I'm getting at, right? I really hope I'm explaining this well. So by asking a lot of questions, I hit the emotion and desires. And what happens after that? I get the sale. And what happens when I get the sale? I get the commission. So that's what I learned out of only working in retail. How is that linked to the online world? It does link with the online world. Everything I said here links with the online world. Doesn't matter what product you're selling. Let's say you've got a lead and you can ask a lot of questions and you can hit the emotion and the desires. That's it. That's all you need to win a sale. I started only booking shifts on the weekend because I know that's when it was the busiest and I can get so many more sales instead of during the week. So I'd only work like 2 or 3 days in the week and my commission would be as much as how much I get paid during the month. I remember my manager couldn't believe it. He's like, you're that one kid that I was just going to say, no, you're not worth it. Most of the time I was the top seller, especially in the summer where I didn't have uni. I was top seller. I was so good at selling stuff just because I knew how to hit these 2 things. Now, I'm not going to say I closed every sale, but 95%, especially those that asked me for help and I didn't have to approach them, sell. It was done. It was a done deal because they're already interested. All I had to do was just hit those things. So I was like, this is guaranteed to sell. Now, let me rub this out. I'm going to keep retail there for now just because that's my starting point of sales. What's my next starting point? And I think my next starting point is going to be uni. So I studied architecture at university. Let's put that down. The only reason I passed architecture, and I hated architecture. Architecture is one of those degrees where if you're not passionate about it and you don't like it, you will fail. Do you know what made me pass? My tutor specifically told me while graduating, your design does not make you pass, it's your talking. So yeah, you need to sell your design to pass. And I knew exactly how to do that. That required a lot of sales. My design skills weren't that good. All I did was sell my idea. Instead of perfecting the little intricate details, I would start just writing questions that I know the critics are going to ask. Instead of perfecting the design, which by the way, in architecture, you can spend hours and even weeks, months working on a design. All it takes is one tutor to say, nope, we don't like it, and you're done. You've got to start all over again. It's horrible. I learned how to sort of turn that around. A lot of students came to me like, our design is like 10 times better than yours, and it would be. How did yours succeed? Like, how did you pass? Because I knew how to talk about my design. And when you know how to talk about your design, your product, you pass. So that was another element that I learned through architecture. So I learned how to convince or persuade. And another thing I learned as well, that's quite important, I learned how to master my product. And this is something you guys need to do as well. You need to know everything about your product, everything about your skills. There's so many SMMA calls I've been on, right? And I've actually looked at a few people, friends of mine that try to do this as well. Let's say they're good at graphic design, but they have no idea what to talk about when it comes to graphic design. They're good at web design, they're good at making posters, but they're not good at talking about it. And I remember the client would ask them, on these calls, I've been on these calls and I had to help them out. And these clients would ask them simple questions like, so how would you add value to, because I am good at web design? Bro, you can't say that. You know what I mean? You got to really emphasize what you can put on the table. How can you benefit the client? What is it? Show numbers, show figures. If you have to talk about a case study that, oh, for this client, I designed this kind of website, which increased their conversion rate by 10%. That's the kind of conversations you need to have. This taught me how to master my design / product. Once I knew how to do this, I could literally sell anything, even if I'm not good at it. I just have to learn how to master the design, and product and literally understand everything about it. That made me pass university. It's not my designs, it's literally that. The fail and dropout rate for architecture, you search it up, it's really high. I had this one person, this guy had like top scores on everything. You know, essay writing, structural design, different modules, right? All these different modules they passed, except the design module. And I remember this guy had pages and pages of work. It was so good, really professional. Like he should have got a first. They failed him just because he wasn't good at convincing why he designed certain things in a certain way. So everything has got to have a purpose. That's another thing. Everything has to have a purpose.
Purpose that connects us. Purpose that pulls us, that guides us, that drives us. It is purpose that defines. Purpose that binds us.
I really hope you guys can read this, because if you can't, this is a problem. Everything has to have a purpose. If it doesn't have a purpose, don't even talk about it. Don't even put it in there. So everything I did on my design had purpose. And this is why I kept it simple. Simple is key. When you overcomplicate something in architecture and you can't talk about it and there's no purpose behind it just because it's a fancy design, that is an X. Everything you design, that's why you have to keep it simple, it has to have a purpose. And because of that, I passed with not flying colors, but I passed with a decent grade. Anyway, all of that you're going to realize links to sales. So I'm going to rub that out so we can talk about my next stage. So when I finished university, I didn't want to work in architecture anymore. I hated it. So I didn't work in architecture. So it was retail, and then I did my degree. And then after that, I worked in retail again, but then I found a full-time job, and my other full-time job was product management. I had to sell software for a particular company, but my job role was being a product manager. All right, and I'll talk about what product management is. Product management. I know it's becoming a bit wonky, but it's fine. There's so many things I learned out of this, right? Because this is more commercial. You're talking to C-level executives here. You're dealing with actual money. It's not like £100 transaction. Over here, I had to sell stuff worth millions. You're probably thinking, how did I get from architecture to product management? When COVID hit, I took a bunch of like software courses and stuff, and I learned this is the best way to get into software without actually being a developer. Product management is a bunch of sales. It's pretty much 90% sales or 80% sales. The other 20% is gathering feedback from customers, clients, or the market, doing maybe market research around maybe features that can be sold to your clients and give the company you're working for a good ROI. This wasn't easy, but this taught me so much. All the elements I learned from architecture and retail, right? And this is what got me the product management job, to be fair. I remember at the interview, the way I positioned myself was not that I have a weird degree in architecture that has nothing to do with product management. No, I was like, this is directly linked to this because I used all the sales elements. I was like, the reason why I passed because I used sales. The reason I was so good at retail is because I used sales. I spoke about so much sales stuff, which got me the job here. And yeah, I had to make sure that I understood different methodologies used in like, software engineering and development, which is, like the agile or the waterfall methodology and stuff. I then took a Prince 2 qualification, so you had to be good at project management as well, managing budgets and stuff and managing different teams. So I had to work with so many developers. Yeah, so that was that. Okay. And you're probably thinking, what did I learn out of that? That you're talking with big numbers, but I've realized something. It is big numbers, a lot of big numbers that I was dealing with. But honestly, I swear to you, I treated it as if it was a £100 transaction. No difference. I made everything look smaller instead of overcomplicating it in my head. I'm like, at the end of the day, it's just maybe the software is a bit more complex, but the process is still the same. As long as I hit the desire and the emotion, I can sell anything I want. I literally went back to what I learned in my first job where I was earning £8 an hour. I used those two things, emotion and desire, and I was able to get a sale for any client. With the company I was working with, they got me in every sale call. They had sales reps. I became a sales rep, even though I was a product manager at the same time, purely because I just knew how to close deals. I'll get on a call with a client. All I did was ask questions. How are you using the system now? How are you doing this and how are you doing that? Can you walk me through of how you do this? And just purely, all I did was purely based on their feedback, their questions. By asking these 3 questions, I know I'm going to hit a desire and close the sale. Now you're probably wondering, how do I use this in today's world? Around the architecture part, around here, I wanted to find out how to make money online because I was jobless. This is after COVID, all right? So after COVID, I wanted to find what was the best way to make money online without any upfront investment. I was broke. When I finished uni, I had nothing left in the account. COVID was around and companies weren't hiring anymore. Everyone was on hold. No one knew what was going to happen in the next year or so. So I just started researching different ways to make money online. I thought the only skill I had was video editing. So I used to love doing video editing back in the day while I was in university, even before. I used to make RuneScape videos, and I was known as like the best RuneScape video editor just because on that game specifically, no one really done any video edits. You know how Call of Duty, you've got one clip edits? I use that approach with RuneScape, if you know what I mean. So I became a really good editor with RuneScape. So I thought, look, the only skill I had was pretty much video editing. And that for that reason, I didn't know anything about marketing. I learned that along the way. But yeah, I was like, how can I get started? Like, I pretty much don't know how to do anything. And that's when I started researching online how to make money. And I came across creating Instagram theme pages, which I sold for a bit of money after as well. And I also created Fiverr and Upwork gigs where I sold my video editing services. So I edited, like wedding videos, YouTube videos for gamers. I edited all sorts of different videos. One of my biggest successful gigs were growing Instagram pages for different businesses. And what I would do is I'll just edit reels for different businesses. The problem is I didn't understand how to sell myself. I didn't know where to value myself. I knew nothing. Yeah, I was good at sales, but I was not good at marketing. I didn't know what SMMA was, how it works, and So I had a bunch of clients, but I wasn't getting much return. And I was working 8 to 10 hours a day. And I think my service was like, I'll do $10 per reel or something, which is nothing in today's world, or even back then, it's just pretty much nothing. Every client I took on, I was doing 1 or 2 reels per day. So it's around $300 to $500 per client. Most of the accounts I managed grew so much with followers. Their followers literally skyrocketed like crazy. I remember this one client that I took on went from like 30K to like 80K. And this guy would use me to my fullest limit. Like sometimes this guy would make me post like 3 reels per day. Sometimes every other week. And I'm like, why am I being used? I'm barely getting paid for this. And it's just because I didn't know how to market myself. All I saw was I'm a video editor who edits reels. That's it. And I found out later on that one client that I was working for, I was able to triple their monthly recurring revenue. They were like a coaching business, selling programs and stuff. And I just remember, this guy told me he tripled his monthly recurring revenue. And he was making a lot of money. That means he's making like 40K, 30 to 40K. And I just stood there, why am I only getting $300 to $400 for this stuff? Like I should be getting a lot more. I stopped that. After a while, the only reason I got into Instagram theme pages and all of that stuff with Instagram and gigs and Fiverr and Upwork is because I wanted to make money purely so I can buy a dropshipping course, be mentored or whatever. I thought that was the way out, not this stuff. I had no idea what marketing was back then. I had no idea what the online world and how people are making money. I just didn't know anything. I made a bit of money. Yes, I think I made around probably $10,000 to $15,000. That was my first 10K through this. And I worked crazy hours. Like I sacrificed weekends, friends, everything. I'd work literally 8, 10 hours a day, non-stop. It was not healthy. Honestly, it was not healthy. But I did it anyway. I stopped that eventually and I found another business. I did Amazon and eBay and so on. I saw a lot of success out of that as well. And it's because I was dropshipping stuff from Amazon onto my eBay, but I also bought a lot of stuff from China in bulk and I sold it in the UK and the US. So I have a warehouse, a storage facility. And then I've got people that actually, manage the orders and stuff and send it off. So we do quite a bit of that as well. And you're probably thinking, how is sales linked to that? Well, I'll tell you how. With eBay and Amazon, of course, sales is linked to it. I had to talk to the suppliers and get the lowest rate. And the way I had to speak to those guys was crazy. Like I had one of the best deals on the market, even though I had no history, no sales history. And I remember the way I did it was I had this software called Zeek Analytics and I would look at the number of items a user would be selling. And I would know they would be sourcing the product from China. I would simply look for the item they're selling and sell it at a lower rate. How? I would contact the supplier. Or look, I want to sell this item, and I'll try and get it for like 20 or 30% less for what the eBay is selling it for. So I was able to always cut down on different users and try and get the lowest rate. I'll do research for a couple of days, get like 100 to 200 items, and then find the suppliers for each item, get in a call with the supplier and just try and get the lowest rate. And it was all sales from there. Sometimes I did lose money, but it worked at most of the time. I used to sign a contract, which was scary, that if I would hit a number of sales within a certain amount of time, they would have to give me this specific rate. And if I don't hit that many sales, I give them the rate they want to give me, which is their original rate. I was like, but the discounted rate, which is going to make me money, I've got to sell a certain amount each time. So that's the conversation I sort of used to have, and I was able to close off pretty much 80% of my suppliers. And like that, my eBay store grew and I was able to make a lot of money out of that. Forget that Amazon eBay stuff is on the side. Forget that. There's something I did recently and I cannot believe it worked. So I used to manage around 16 different pages, 16 different clients when I was running Instagram theme pages back in the day on my Fiverr and Upwork gigs. And I recently messaged every single one of them. To be fair, 4 of them were no longer in business. Half of them didn't reply. The other half did reply. I think 1 or 2 managed to get in a call with me. And funny thing is, they remembered me, they knew who I was. I got on a Skype call with them. They both already had someone working for them managing their social media pages. One of them was paying $1,500 for one guy. They were okay, they were happy with the growth they were getting, but not too happy. So I said, look, how about you pay me $3,000, which they didn't accept. Back then, I was able to grow your pages by 30,000 followers. Back then, I didn't know anything about marketing. Now I understand Instagram's algorithm. I understand audience retention. I understand marketing. I gave all these different things to them and I put forward on the table. I'm like, and plus I know your business and I've worked with you before. Imagine what I can do now. Like that, sign me. I put $2,000 in my bag. I'm working on it now and that's why I haven't been uploading that much. I've been working on their pages. I was able to sign a client, $2,000. Now the other one, he's got like 4 different pages. He's got a TikTok page and he's got like 3 different Instagram pages and he's got YouTube shorts. I wasn't able to do all of them, but I was like, I'll manage all your Instagram and TikTok pages, but YouTube I can't. And he respected that. And I literally used the same thing, right? I literally used the same thing, the same approach as the first client that I was able to get in a call with. I said, look, I grew your page from here to here back in the day. And they were so surprised that I'm reaching out to them after like a number of years. And I said, look, I now understand, as I said, audience retention, Instagram, I've been able to do this and that and so on. And he was paying probably around $3,000 for one person to cover everything. I was like, look, give me $3,000 purely just for Instagram and TikTok, and I could probably triple your monthly recurring revenue within 6 months. He thought about it. He looked at it. I was like, I can triple it. I was like, I know how to do it. I can triple literally what you get now. And he sat on it, he went. And I got a call back literally the next day. He's like, I'm done. Let's do it. In fact, I had to recoup. I had to relearn how to get, big on Instagram again and how to grow 3 pages in this day and age because the algorithm on Instagram is always changing. So you've got to learn different ways and strategies to maintain an audience on your clips and your reels and on Instagram. But I've learned all of that now and I've run a few tests on different pages and it works. Plus, I had to learn different video editing techniques and stuff and just see what's trending today and all that stuff. So I've got a whole catalog of, what works today. They called me up and they're like, yeah, we'll take it. $3,000, done. And for some reason, I got greedy. And I wrote this, but I got greedy. It's actually supposed to be $4,000 because it's 4 pages. So it was $1,000 per page. And I said this and I was like, I'm so sorry. I miscalculated it. I noticed that you've got 4 pages. So if I can have $1,000 per page, I can triple your monthly recurring revenue. And I think I was about to lose a sale. I shouldn't have done that. I should have been very firm from the beginning. I felt like I was going to lose a sale, but he accepted $4,000. In the end, he accepted. It was a risky move. And if I were you guys, don't do that. You should just be very firm with your offer. He did say, look, by month 6, if we're not getting the numbers we want, I'm going to move on. And I said, yeah, whatever. I wasn't even serious about it. Just by calling up old clients I used to work with a number of years ago, I'm now making another $6,000 a month just like that. And I will break this down in a number of set of videos. The sales process, the funnels, the types of questions, the script you want to be using, how to trigger emotion, how it's triggered, and how to trigger desires as well. I'll make a whole separate video on how that can be covered. But if you can cover all those things, emotion, desires, unique offer, emotion, desires, and your unique offer. If you can perfect those, you're closing literally 99% of your clients. Emotion, desire, and your offer. If you can perfect those, right? So with these two, with the desires and emotion, you're going to be asking the right questions. So for here and here, you've got to be asking the right questions. Why am I writing sideways? I have no idea. But yeah, you can perfect these two. You can close any sale you want. In my next video, I will literally be talking about the whole end-to-end process. Everything you need to consider while going through a sales call, from acquiring the client to closing the sale with the client. I'll happily tell you pretty much what I do. Even though I'm going to be giving you everything I have, you still got to give your own creative touch. What makes something work is when you're original. Because using a strategy that has been used by 100 others isn't exactly going to work for you. All right, so you've always got to add your own personal mix to it. I'll speak more about that in the future videos.